Good day. Welcome to Focus KSA. I'm Patrick Ryan, Director of the Saudi-U.S. Relations Project, Susris.com. We have a special program for you today. We're going to be talking with David Dumke. He's the Director of the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Program for Strategic Research and Studies at the University of Central Florida. Just a reminder, Focus KSA is a special project in association with the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group, and I work with Susris.com. And we're pleased to bring you these features. We do a regular monthly webinar, and we have occasional special editions, special projects, and special guests. And today we have with us David Dumke, as I mentioned, Director of the Prince Mohammed program at the University of Central Florida. Welcome, David. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Patrick. Really appreciate having you on.
We're happy to have you and to learn something more about the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd program for strategic research and studies. Why don't you give us an overview of what the program is about there at the University of Central Florida?
Well, we started this program about a year and a half ago, and it's the product of a partnership between University of Central Florida, which a lot of people don't know is the second largest university in the United States with 60,000 students and growing. We've seen quality of our academics improve over time at UCF, and the one area that our president really wanted us to work on was improving international relations, particularly with the Middle East region. So one of the trips we went over to Saudi Arabia, we were able to develop a partnership with Prince Mohammed bin Fahd University, which is a private school in the Eastern Province in Al Khobar. PMU, our partner, is looking for some of the educational benefits and experiences of UCF, and we in turn are looking to learn from them. And one of the ways we thought would do that is by setting up a program which could facilitate understanding really in the kingdom as well as here about the nature of relations and a lot of issues that aren't necessarily political but are very important, like educational partnerships. Obviously the economic partnerships have existed for a long time, cultural ties and other things. I mean, obviously we're located in Orlando, and we were joking earlier, as you know, about Mickey Mouse and Disney, but in fact we have one of the best tourism programs in the world and the United States. Tourism, as you know, but a lot of people don't know, tourism is a growing industry in Saudi Arabia, for example. So sure. These kinds of partnerships, how can we work with private sector, universities, and government institutions to try to help on issues that may not be recognized instantly, like tourism?
Well, you certainly have carved out a great niche in a great location there, and certainly as you mentioned, it's a great location and to attract participation from those in the kingdom. And I think our readers and viewers are very familiar with the King Abdullah Scholarship Program, which has brought tens of thousands of Saudi students for higher education into the United States, and has brought students all over the country. But less well known probably are efforts like yours to do major programs like the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd program there, which you can fill us in on what the benefit is for the university. We know that the King Abdullah program provides higher education for Saudi students, but you mentioned the University of Central Florida wanting to expand its international program. So can you tell us a little bit how being involved in this benefits the local university there?
Well, I think first of all, we live in a truly global atmosphere. There's a lot of cliches about global connectivity, but it's very true. I mean, these are said because they're true, and this goes from our leadership on down. You know, Orlando has become an international city again because of our cultural assets include tourism industry, but they also include some other things in Florida, such as, you know, this is also an area very vital to the space industry. Space industry has done a lot of research in renewable energy, for example, and water. So we try to look at what we have and needs in Florida as well as greater United States and try to match them with some of the things going on in the kingdom, and build programs that way. So one of our big initiatives last year, which is ongoing, I'm happy to say, is we did a conference on water. This is an area obviously of critical importance to the kingdom. There's always been water shortages. You've seen aquifers that are nearly dried up, but you've also seen great investment from the Saudi government and from academic institutions in the kingdom towards water research. And now Saudi Arabia, in fact, and this surprised a lot of people, has become a real leader in water, in desalinization, not just through old technologies by using energy to do that, to using fossil fuels to convert desal, but become an innovator in solar desalinization, for example. Florida has a water shortage. A lot of people don't understand. We've misused aquifers, for example. So you do something that's based on a concrete issue but has applicability both in the kingdom and here. That's just one example. There's a lot of examples too, and you know this well, both from your service and with all the visitors you've interviewed and other initiatives going on. There is still a huge knowledge gap as to what is actually going on in a place like Saudi Arabia, what we're doing in the United States, what partnerships actually exist, and where we can find more reason to work together.
Well, it's great that beyond the campus you're getting making connections between those in Saudi Arabia in the area of water and other areas, and those in Florida and elsewhere in the states to build bridges between Saudis and Americans and in these areas where we have mutual interests. Can you tell us specifically about some of the programs and projects that you have going on? I know there's an oral history project. You can maybe fill us in on that, and some of the other works that you have either on the table or on the drawing board.
Sure. I mean, it's interesting you also mentioned the King Abdullah Scholarship Program. One thing, and I'm saying this a little lightly, we've been blessed with a lot of Saudi students at UCF. There's no problem with the atmosphere and climate coming over here. I mean, students, it's actually a draw. But a good thing that's happened to our university is even before the scholarship program was established, we've had a number of Saudi graduates and other graduates from the GCC region, and word of mouth and reputation has led more to come based on that. Higher education is big business. The King Abdullah Scholarship Fund hasn't just been great for the kingdom and its future, but has been very beneficial to universities, and UCF is part of that. We actually mentioned oral history projects, and we're trying to look at things that, first of all, some of them are not new ideas. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel when you don't have to. So one oral history project we have going on is Florida is also the home, as you know, of a number of retirees. And one thing we're doing right now is we've tapped many of these retirees who are former Aramco folks and others who've worked in the kingdom. We did this through word of mouth. We did this through a variety of existing Saudi-related programs to get word out. And we have had Aramcons and others who are willing to go on tape to talk about their experiences there. And of course, the Saudi history over the last 5-6 decades is pretty fascinating one in terms of growth and development. We're getting some of these stories on tape, which we'll start posting one a month on our website, that are telling stories about their time in the kingdom, how they got there, their impressions. Very, very rich stuff. Aramco themselves have done this before, as have some others, but we want to do this as a new variation of that and get it while we can. Again, it's an asset that's relevant to Florida, but also relevant to what we're trying to do. At the same time, back to the King Abdullah Scholarship Program, we had a young Saudi woman who was attending our events regularly and it helped us with some ideas, and she came up with an idea of doing it's not history yet, it's current, but interviewing some of the Saudi students who are here at UCF about their experiences going to college in the United States, what this is doing for their lives, their work outlook, and what they think this will mean for the kingdom going down the road. So we got 2 different oral history projects, and again, these are things that came to us pretty easily, but we think the information that's going to be presented on these will be pretty valuable going forward.
Oh, to be sure. I just want to remind our viewers that this is Focus KSA, a project of the Saudi-U.S. Trade Group. They can be found at sustg.org and susris.com, the Saudi-U.S. Relations Information Service. We're talking with David Dumke. He's the director of the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Program for Strategic Research and Studies at the University of Central Florida. David is also one of the early contributors to the Saudi American Forum, which was a brief project that eventually became susris.com. And he's also a specialist in Middle East affairs. He worked on Capitol Hill. And I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to talk a little bit about current developments and his perspective on U.S.-Saudi relations. But any last thoughts, David, on the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd program? Anything that we didn't cover that you'd like people to know? Things that our viewers and readers may be able to become involved with? Anything coming up they should know about?
Yeah, we have a website. You just look up University of Central Florida, Prince Mohammed program, and it'll easily lead to what we're doing. We have a newsletter we like to distribute. We're always open to ideas. And again, like I said, it's not that the team that I work with, I think they're a very good team, but it's not just our ideas. It's ideas that are coming to us from people who have direct experience on this, and we like to implement those. So we'd encourage them to come. We have regular speakers who come to Orlando. We've done things in Washington. We've done things abroad, and we just look forward and are looking for more opportunities. So I just leave it at that, and that's my plug. So I appreciate that. And yeah, any questions you have, be happy to talk about the kingdom and the region. So.
Well, we'll hopefully be able to keep our readers and watchers informed over time as you have new programs and events that we can help advertise on susris.com. Let's take advantage of having you on the screen here from I guess today's not so sunny Florida, but we're pleased to have you with us. And as I mentioned, David, you were one of the early essayists at the Saudi American Forum, which became SUSRIS back in 2003, and you had experience on Capitol Hill, and since then, you've seen as well as anyone the evolution of developments in the kingdom, reform and modernization, the evolution of the relationship with the United States, the increasing role of Saudi Arabia in regional affairs and global affairs. Can you just take a minute to reflect on what you've seen over the last 10 years in the relationship and in developments in the kingdom, the things that strike you as most noteworthy?
Well, I think, the last 10 years, it's obviously hasn't been the easiest time in terms of measuring the U.S.-Saudi relationship in particular. And it's not obviously just to do with U.S. and Saudi actions, but you're dealing with the neighborhood. I don't want to go off tangent and review over the last 10 years, but obviously what happened in Iraq with the initial invasion, what our American intentions were at the time, obviously have not played out. You've had the Arab Spring. You've had a lot of events that have happened, which have had good and bad consequences, both on, I would say, a lot of bad consequences, first of all, but in terms of the impact on the U.S.-Saudi relations, it's really been mixed reactions. On the one hand, you can say, and I've listened to a lot of commentators and people I have great respect for, talk about, the relationship has never been so tense between Riyadh and Washington, and there's been more misunderstandings lately. All that's true on the one hand. On the other hand, there's been some unintended consequences that are not necessarily bad, and I particularly look inside the kingdom right now. U.S. and Saudi, particularly the economic side, were very close for a long time, but it really was a relationship that was based more on energy and less on a lot of other things. And I think one development over the last 10 years, because the nature of global energy, developments inside the U.S., developments inside the kingdom, is energy is one component of this relationship on the economic side, but certainly not the only one. We're mentioning the King Abdullah Scholarship Fund. Educational ties are huge, and it's actually big business. And that's an area that is going to pay off dividends into the future, because obviously as we've seen in the past. The more Saudis who are educated in the United States, that kind of builds a core of future business leaders, future academic leaders, government leaders who have a familiarity with the American system. I think the United States does need to take some steps to understand Saudi Arabia better, and it's, through programs like this one, but a lot of other efforts to understand the opportunities that exist, and in part because we're dealing with young Saudi leaders in all walks of life, all walks of economic life, who are familiar with our systems to kind of build up a natural core of connections. I also think, there's been some negative implications after 9/11, and that led to actually, in some ways, a lot of Saudi soul searching on the economic side, particularly. That we've got to diversify our relationships, and there are some Americans who say that's led Saudi to have closer relations with Moscow and Beijing and India and a lot of different countries. I actually see that as a very positive thing. Positive for Saudi Arabia because they have diverse relations, and that's kind of a maturation process for a state that really is under 100 years old. And that can also be a good thing for the United States. If you have a good friend in Saudi Arabia, there's a lot of trilateral initiatives, both culturally, economically, politically, that can really have great benefits. So I think we're going through a lot of problems because of Iraq, because of the region, because of Arab Spring, all true, but that over time can lead to some closer relations and change relations and modernize relations. So I'm more positive than negative in terms of the U.S.-Saudi relationship going forward.
Well, that's a great summary of 10 years in 3 minutes. I appreciate that.
I'll give you the 3-hour version too.
Well, we'll be back for that, the university version. That's terrific. Well, we appreciate you taking time to talk with us about the program there at the University of Central Florida, and we're happy to share with our viewers anything in the future that we can to keep them connected with what you're doing, and we'll certainly steer them towards your website and your calendar and keep them up to date. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, Patrick, I'd just like to thank you for talking to us. Obviously, it's important for us to get our program, awareness of our program out there. We want to do good work. We're always looking for partnerships with other organizations or individuals. So we thank you for talking to us today.
Terrific. Thanks. We've been talking with David Dumke. He's the director of the Prince Mohammed bin Fahd Program for Strategic Research and Studies at the University of Central Florida, and this has been Focus KSA. Have a good day.
Thank you.